All right, welcome back. So went ahead, decided to oh, there's some focus. Look at that focus. So after fixing the A7, I had to I kind of jumped on the Tomcat. So this thing, I went to fly it at Georgia this past September, and I had engines running and everything. And one of the spotters, my spotter, noticed that the entire inside of the jet had filled up with fuel. So luckily we caught it on the ground before it caught fire, because it would have burned it all up. But so if you know anything about this jet, is even as big as it is, it's still a PETA to work on. So there's a spar box that runs all the way across that the wings bolt onto, which to get the saddle tanks out, you have to completely pull that out. And it's not easy because it's built into the landing gear. So the framing of the jet with the cross beam and the landing gear bolts into the frame, and the those big chunks of titanium or whatever they're using for the wing swing actually bolt into the landing gear. So it's one big solid, crazy strong structure. So it makes it really painful to work on. So yeah, I was able to take one side off and slide it out. And I started pulling this tank out because I had suspected that it was on this side. I thought, heck, it's either the front tank, it's got a hole in it, or something. Something has busted to cause it to leak. But I should have known it wasn't an actual fractured tank. But I still got to check everything. But I took the tank out. And as I was trying to kind of get it out, I had to take this line off. That's the actual pickup line. So this goes into the pickup, or the vent of the main tank into the saddle. Well, I noticed this guy had some, and it's not going to be easy to see, but you can kind of see that. Oh, gosh, focus! I got to turn autofocus back on. So it's hard to see, but that typical green shit that you see on like diesel and gasoline with oil in it, well, this guy slid right off. Even with three little lock wire straps on it, it slid right off, and I think it was leaking out the bottom of the fuel line. Or at least I'm hoping, because it seems like, because I look in there and there's no fuel forward of this area here, which is good, because that means it was coming out and pouring down the side, which was what it was doing. It was filling up in this area right here, and we just couldn't tell where it was coming from. So the other side is nasty as well, but I just checked the line on that one, and it's seems to be pretty tight. So I think that was the problem. But I'm going to, when I built this thing, I was still fairly new into jets. Okay, so I used Tygon for everything. Horrible shit, because it shrinks, it degrades, and when it shrinks, it just gets loose, which is what's happened here. And I even used it in the tank for my pickup, for my clunks, and that, as you know, that stuff hardens. So I'm going to pull the clunks out, because they're rubber stoppers, and I'm going to replace the clunk line with the BVM tank line stuff. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to replace all the yellow Tygon with the Festo line. So lesson. If you can avoid it, try not to use Tygon. It just doesn't hold up with this stuff for long term. Like I said, I built this jet in 2015, so it's got some time on it, but I haven't flown it a lot. It's been a lot of sitting over the years, just because I don't have a place to fly it. So I'm only flying it 2 or 3 times a year. So, and there was some years I didn't get to fly it. But that being said, I keep the jets empty So, yeah, try, if you can, try to avoid Tygon. So that's just what this video is about, is, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, is try to use Festo, you know, fuel-proof Festo line, because it's hard to get the neoprene stuff that doesn't harden in the sizes you need for bigger motors, you know. So if you're doing 6 mil, 8 mil, it's much harder to get that stuff, or if you can even get it. But it's easy to get the Festo stuff now. It wasn't when I first got into it, it was more Tygon. But now that you can get the Festo tubing fairly easy, and you got all the high flow stuff, it's better just to use the actual polyurethane type clear. It doesn't seem to shrink. It will discolor, and it may get a little stiff, but it seems to hold up much better. You know, so yeah, what a pain. But it is a good opportunity to kind of do some preventative maintenance, like I already talked about in my last video. So these actually, these little fairings here, these actually go in there. You can kind of see it right there. I'm actually going to leave these guys out, like, because all it did was just direct the air closer to the turbine like this, but it's only a few inches and there's really nothing there, so I'm just going to leave these guys out now, you know. That way it'll make it easier to see things and stuff. Like I said, it doesn't need to be there. It's a little bit of weight, so I'll lose a little bit of weight there, you know, and that will be, it's essentially kind of at, you know, the CG is right here, so it's on the CG, so it ain't going to change much weight. But yeah, so that's kind of what I want to do. Just kind of do's and don'ts, in my opinion. Stay away from Tygon if you can. If anything, I would use it on vents. You know, because you can't really, it's not really good to use with Festo fittings on suction, because it can collapse, and because it is so pliable. So pressure side, if anything, and then if you can avoid it, get the Festo, good polyurethane, you know, the fuel-proof clear Festo line. So yeah, what a mess, because it's nasty in here. Like you can see where it dissolved my two-sided tape adhesive. So I got to go in here and clean all this out. But it is a good opportunity to get in here, and I've noticed I've actually got there's a couple real thin bulkheads that kind of go right here on each side of the fuel tanks. They are snapped. So I'm wondering if the nose, the weight, because you can lift up on the nose and you can see that gap kind of flexing a little bit. Well, it's bolted together here, but it's also bolted right here to help support this nose. So I don't know if those are snapping or snapped. They're real thin. They're lightning. It's like one of these that's snapped. So I'm guessing it's real flimsy anyways. So I'm gonna try to get those repaired. And like I said, if I can get I should be able to get the clunk lines out, because you can see them. Well, you can't see them because of the dark, but they're like right there. And I can loosen them and pull the clunk out and replace everything. So that's what I'm going to do. And you know, for things like this, like fills, you know, yeah, you're fine. But I think from now on, I'm just going to stick to the clear stuff. You know, it doesn't do like the Tygon does. So that's tip for hits. That's hanger tip. Yeah, I don't have trusty tool tips like the ladder side guy, but anyway, so yeah, so if that should be, once I get everything cleaned up, and it should be fairly simple to replace all this fuel line, because I can kind of get to it. I'm actually thinking about going ahead and replacing the wing linear actuators here. They use the old or what are now Actuonics. They used to be Fergarelli, or however you want to say it, but it's the same linear actuator. They just put a metal casing on it. But these plug into a little control board right there that run off of 12 volts. So I have a 3-cell ion that's 11.1 volts to run the wing swing, or the wing sweep actuators. So what I think I'm going to do, because I think from what I've been told, the new ones come with the RC version of the Actronics, which just plug right into your power system or receiver and works like a regular servo. These, they're either full out or full in. There's no intermediate position like the one on my canopy for the F-22. They work like the new ones work like, well, if you use the R version, which is the RC version, they work like a normal servo. You got midpoints, endpoints, you can slow speed, cut down endpoints, change center points, things like that. So I could put a intermediate sweep on the jet, which is what the real one flew mostly with anyways. So, and I have the linear actuators in stock for those. I just got to make sure they work, because I know some people have had problems with them, so I'll have to ask around and everything. If not, you know, if it's broke, don't fix it, you know. It works like it is. It's just it would be nice to be able to do like an intermediate position versus just full out or full back. Because even when they're out, they actually go out too far, and then when they go back, they swing too far. So it'd be nice to just, if anything, be able to get proper position of the wings. But yeah, oof, man, yeah. So just a little video for you guys. You know, this is about learning. I learned my lesson with this one, and I mean, yeah. So you guys take it easy, and I'm gonna call it a night and go get cleaned up. I've got jet fuel all over me. So cheers.